You're most welcome along to Matchbook's penultimate edition of our Euro specials. Going to miss these guys. I've seen them more than my friends and family over the last couple of weeks. Mark O'Hare and Adrian Clarke are along once again. Interesting quarterfinals. Adrian, both teams to score. Spain, Switzerland, lovely bet. Denmark, great show. England to win another 3.5 goals. If the Ukrainian defence turned up at all, we would have had a winning weekend. We were, I suppose, look, the over. We backed the unders in Belgium and Italy, and that was gone by half time. So that was a good quick beating anyway, which is good.
We had a good round. We had a decent round. We were unlucky with England. Clearly, Ukraine definitely down tools, and England were ultra clinical, weren't they? You have to say the conversion rate was great. Italy, Belgium. We both forecast that they would show each other a lot of respect. And after 10 minutes, I think I texted you and said, there's no respect being shown here. At all. It was basically front foot stuff. And I admired both managers for it. And it made for a brilliant match, but it ruined our bet.
Yeah, it did. And Mark, I'll come to you in a second. I just want to talk about the outright market as we have it currently at matchbook.com. There's obviously only 4 teams remaining. And England are basically, just before it went on air here, they're more or less the industry best price at matchbook.com at 2.66, Italy at 3.34, Spain at 4.1, and you can back Denmark at 11.5. Mark O'Hare, you tipped them up at 81.0 last November. You both tipped them up at 36.0 pre-tournament. But I'm kind of surprised even by that price now. It hasn't contracted any bit in. It was 12.5, 13.0 prior to the quarterfinals. Is the market still not giving Denmark a small bit more respect? It surely should be nearly single digits by now.
Yeah, I guess there is. I think when you look at the match prices, which we'll come to with the England game, I don't disagree massively with where the market is at. Really, Denmark will be considered reasonable outsiders against any of those 3 teams in an outright final, but to come through away against England in the semi-final and then to beat either Italy or Spain, I don't think it's a million miles away. Yeah, you could probably say 9.5, 10.0 would probably be a fairer reflection of where Denmark are at, but certainly if you just did something as amateur as just put down your first 11 for all 4 teams and try to build a kind of combined 11, how many Danish players are getting into that 11? And I know it's not about the individuals, it's more about the collective, but you can certainly see why they are being sort of dismissed as the outsiders of the 4.
Adrian, any quick thoughts on this one, man?
Yeah, no, it'd be very, very interesting to see if England make the final and they play Spain. I would anticipate that England would be favourites for that, but I would be really interested to find out where the market is for an England-Italy final, because obviously the home advantage lies with England and obviously they're building momentum. But for me, Italy are still the strongest team. And if this was played on neutral territory, I probably would still fancy Italy to be current favourites. So yeah, it would be interesting to see what happens there if, of course, those 2 sides get through to the showpiece.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of ifs, buts, and maybe so far, but let's get into it, guys. Italy, Spain is the first game we're going covering here. Tuesday night at Wembley. Mark, start with you first. This one, the betting as we have it at matchbook.com. Back the Italians at 2.57, Spain at 3.2, the draw available at 3.3. Spain getting a quarter goal start on the Asian handicap at just under 1.82, and 2.25 is the total. All right, Mark O'Hare, take it away. Which side should we be backing on Tuesday night?
Italy, I think. I came into the competition thinking they hadn't been tested for a long time, actually throughout Roberto Mancini's reign by an elite nation, but they got a test from Belgium, and in that second half it could have gone either way. Lukaku missing a great opportunity, but Italy came through it, and I think they'll be better for it. So I think they're probably a bit grounded by the performance against Austria, and I think we saw them return to the qualities which we've come to know now under Mancini, which is the high press, the all-action, quite attacking style, stretching that unbeaten run to 32 games now. I don't buy into the 13-game winning streak because they did draw against Austria. The win in extra time shouldn't count there, but they've only conceded 2 goals in that streak, and neither of which came from open play, which is really quite remarkable. So there's a lot of positives around Italy. The negatives are Spinazzola's injury. Emerson Palmieri is a downgrade. but also at right back as well. I'm not totally convinced in Giovanni Di Lorenzo, as I wasn't with Florenzi either at right back either. So fullbacks is an issue, but I think certainly as a defensive animal, as a kind of a spine, they're very, very strong. I've doubted Chiellini's defensive abilities compared to other players in that squad, but what he lacks there, he absolutely brings in terms of spirit and leadership and organisation. So I think as a spine, as a solidity, they're very, very strong. Midfield, I think, is the best in the competition. And the attack is scoring goals more or less in line with the opportunities they're creating. Immobile had a dreadful game against Belgium, but he's been pretty much hitting par for most of the tournament. So, yeah, I do like Italy. Belgium, as I said, had their chances, but I look at Spain. Compared to Italy, we know what we're going to get from Italy. They've kind of been the most consistent team in the competition. Spain have been more erratic to me. Spain have been up in the air, and I think there's fault lines in both boxes for the Spanish, which are hampering their progress, which kind of worries me a little bit against the elite, because I thought they flattered to deceive against Switzerland. I thought they got off to a great start with the deflected goal, but I thought their stranglehold on the game started to loosen the longer the game went on, and the soft centre we talked about was absolutely exposed by a calamitous error in central defence to give away the equaliser. But Switzerland had their opportunity. Switzerland forced the pressure. We had loads of corners. And we talked about the opportunities that Spain are conceding. So they're not necessarily conceding loads and loads of shots, but the opportunities they are conceding are big opportunities. And their expected goals per shot figure is massive compared to everyone else in the competition, which shows that when they do concede opportunities, they are big opportunities, which is a worry, really, because they have been quite sloppy defensively, but they've been far from ruthless in the final third as well. Morata was ineffective against Switzerland. Moreno hasn't shown the same form he showed with Villarreal all season. And that is a worry, really, the lack of the sort of sharp cutting edge at the final third. And just talking about that Switzerland game, and we shouldn't be going overboard on one particular match, but 8 of their 10 shots on target came in extra time. Switzerland down to 10 men from the 70th minute or around that mark as well.
Exhausted,
so Spain will have opportunities because I think Italy's high press. I think Spain have got the ability to play through it and potentially try and expose Bonucci and Chiellini. But have they got the players to finish those opportunities? I'm not sure. So I am pro Italy here. I think the +0 start on the Asian handicap at 1.8 is the way to go. Personally, I prefer playing that than taking Italy to qualify, because I feel like sometimes when you get to extra time, it's almost a completely new ball game. You've got the risk of penalties as well, kind of going against you. I'm happy to just kind of play it as it is. If the game ends all square, I'll take my money and sort of move on, really. But the only other angle I was thinking about was potentially both teams to score at evens. I thought it was slightly bigger than where I thought it could be, just because of how these two teams played in their quarter-final ties. Neither team sort of was sitting back, playing pragmatically. Both were proactive in their approach. Italy certainly surprising me with their approach against Belgium. So semi-finals, though, do tend to be very tight affairs. Just 1.83 goals per game in the Euros semi-finals since '96, 67% going under 2.5 goals. But 5 of those 12 games did see both teams score. And I think this is more likely to see BTTS than the other semi-final.
Adrian, we talked prior to the quarter-final, and you've obviously got your outright position with Spain prior to the tournament. And you said then you were kind of less confident then of it than you were prior to the tournament, even though you've obviously it's a lot shorter price and it progressed accordingly. But as Mark touched on there, if they can't break down Switzerland, who had 10 men for much of the second half and extra time, they're going to find it very hard to break down this Italian rear guard as well, surely. I mean, it's like I know that they've won the penalty shooting, that's a great fill-up for their confidence, whatever else, but up to that, they were average enough.
Yeah, they weren't great, but they did spurn a lot of chances, really good chances as well. I mean, there was a couple of pretty much open goals, and that's been the story of their route to the final, really. Yeah. So profligate in front of goal. All it takes is for them to find their shooting boots in one game, and we might see a very different Spain. I know that they scored 5 against Croatia. But over the course of this campaign, they've been pretty wasteful, haven't they? And they won't be able to. They won't afford to be wasteful in this game because they won't get the number of opportunities you would imagine. They'll have to be far more clinical than they have been. Look, I think both these teams are front foot. They like to press high up the pitch. They like to get on the ball and dictate the game. They're both playing a 4-3-3. I think this is a fascinating matchup. I really do. I think the both teams to score angle is good. I was thinking about that myself. I also looked at over 2 goals. Over 2.5 is quite skinny, but over 2, you can get 1.7 over 1.7 at the moment on Matchbook, and there you can cover off a more handsome win either side with if both teams don't score. So that's something to consider here. I certainly feel like there will be goals. I feel also that Spinazzola's absence is going to hurt Italy when they are under the cosh. He's been brilliant going forward. We know that. He's been phenomenal, really. So eye-catching. But he's also made a number of telling contributions defensively, Spinazzola. And if there's one thing about Emerson that you can guarantee, it's that he'll switch off at some point. So I worry about that matchup against, more than likely, Ferran Torres, who is growing, I think, into the tournament. So that'd be interesting to see what happens, especially if Torres plays on that side. I think these 2 central midfield units are fantastic, really do. Italy's is awesome. We've waxed lyrical about that, but don't dismiss Spain. I think that Pedri has been excellent. Busquets has added something, and Koke, we know that he's pretty reliable. I think that's going to be a great watch. For me, the reason that I will side with Italy though is looking for weak links, and around the Italy side, fullbacks is an obvious weak link. I'll tell you what, it's not as weak as Spain at centre half. We've talked about it before, haven't we? They can't find a partnership, and they've gone with Laporte on the wrong side, so to speak, with Pau Torres, and they don't look at ease, do they? And that's a worry. And I feel that Italy might expose that. So yeah, I had Italy on the nose, but I could certainly be tempted into Italy with the draw, no bet. And like I say, over 2 goals as well on its own at above 1.7 is worth considering. And if you wanted to sort of mesh those together, Italy to win and over 2.5 goals is quite a tasty price, 4.5. So that's something that I might have a little small play on myself. I think this will be a good game, but Italy have fewer weaknesses than Spain, in my opinion, which is why I'd go with them.
All right, I think that. Yeah, sorry, Mark.
I was just going to say on the Spanish central defence, every day that passes, you just wonder what on earth the reason was that Nacho wasn't called into the squad from Real Madrid. I understand Sergio Ramos being omitted, but Nacho, who'd been one of the best defenders in La Liga all season, and chosen Eric Garcia over Nacho, just I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you another matchup that I really like for Italy, and it would be down the right, where we know that Jordi Alba loves to fly forward. It's a big part, isn't it, of Spain's makeup. Barella is brilliant, I think, at finding space. He's just got great spatial awareness, and he just, especially with Verratti there in midfield alongside Jorginho now, it's given him a little bit more license to sort of pop up in those forward areas. I think him and Chiesa have potential to give Jordi Alba a really tough night at Wembley. We might see Jordi Alba sort of pin back a little bit. We'll have to wait and see. But if he is ambitious, that's where I think Italy can really hurt them down that right-hand side. And they might slant things the other way and tilt most of their attacks down the right this time, seeing as there is no Spinazzola. We'll have to wait and see, of course. And that might make sense because Insigne coming in off the left to be sort of a second striker. For me, it'd be fascinating to see whether Belotti plays instead of Immobile, because he was so bad in that last game, Immobile. I think I tweeted, they had 8s and 9s all over the pitch, Italy, and Immobile was a 3 or 4. So it was a standout stinker. And I just feel that it might be time to make that call.
I don't even know about Bellotti. I've seen Chiesa up top for Juventus during the year as well, and you put Berardi back in on the right. That might be a better way to go. Mark, just one thing on the total that Adrian mentioned there. So over 2, and there's actually a small bit of margin. So we're going to call this about 1.73, 1.74. Would that tempt you instead of maybe the BTTS? Because obviously I know there's a bit of a difference in the price, but 2 goals for Italy or 2 goals for Spain either side, at least get a push. And who knows, the third may occur as well. Is maybe a bit more value in that one?
Yeah, I was nodding along with Adrian. I
Yeah.
do like that bet. As soon as the total, if you can get 2 as a total, I'm
Yeah.
always interested. So
Yeah,
more than
great.
happy to go along that route.
Yeah, let's call it 1.73 over 2.0, and we'll take Italy. A draw no bet. This will appear on Matchbook.com at 0.0 on site. So once I draw no bet, but it says 0.0, and you get your money back if the game goes to extra time, which is quite a possibility in these matchups, as we tend to know. All right, Adrian Clarke. It's coming home. It may be coming home. It's closer to coming home after the last time, mate. And let's be honest about it. That was a great second half performance, in fairness. And look, we've given Southgate plenty of stick on this show. Well, actually, no, sorry. You've given it the stick. And Mark actually has. I've always been in favour of this guy. I knew this before. Let's have a look at the betting first of all. England at 1.76. Denmark 5.9. The draw available at 3.8. Denmark getting 3/4 of a goal start on the Asian handicap at just under 1.93. And the total is leading towards the under here, 2.25. And like I said, it's 1.82 to the under. All right, Adrian Clarke. Look, let's get on. The other thing too, Ukraine were awful. It was so bad. Look, don't get, it was a good English performance, especially in the second half. But that Ukraine team, they just downed tools very early, didn't they?
No, they caved in, didn't they? There's 2 really basic set-piece goals. But look, you can't take anything away from England. It was a really polished, professional performance. Again, they were barely tested. It is becoming increasingly hard to criticise this team or the manager. They're, up until this point, they've had the off night against Scotland, but apart from that, they've sailed through, haven't they? So full credit to them. But there are a couple of grey areas that still not alarm me, that still failed to persuade me to get as excited as the majority of England fans. I understand that there's euphoria at the moment. Southgate is a hero. Everyone believes it's coming home. I get it. I really do. But we haven't had a setback yet. And it's how this team responds to a setback and how Gareth Southgate responds to a setback. Now, we may win it and never have a setback at all.
Exactly.
And it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Of course. But there's a chance between now and potentially winning the competition where England will have a setback. And how do they respond? And how do they respond when the opposition have the upper hand in a game tactically? Scotland did, and it just drifted away from us. And there was no answer really coming from the technical area. So if that happens against Denmark or in a final, that I still have my reservations. But that is the only reservation I have really about England. Their preparation for every single match has been unbelievably good, and the execution has been spot on. England's finishing has been really clinical, okay? And I think I've got some stats for you that I just want to highlight because I think it's important. Okay, of the 4 teams left in the competition, Italy have the worst conversion rate, 11 goals from 101 efforts. Denmark have 11 goals from 90 efforts, that's 12.2%. Spain's is 12.6% conversion rate. Sorry, I'll start that again. Italy have a 10.9% conversion rate. Denmark have a 12.2% conversion rate. Spain have a 12.6% conversion rate. What's England's? 21.6% conversion rate. So one in 5. Yeah, it's 1 in 5's going in, and that is a very good record. But is it sustainable? It might be
sustainable.
It might be, but it might not. And then you've got to wonder if England's finishing suddenly goes awry, are they creating enough chances to go and win games? So yeah, it's interesting. The other teams have created almost 3 times as many opportunities as England. Yeah, England are the tournament favourites. So it's a really, really sort of strange one in that sense. But this should be a good game and a really tight one. I think Denmark have well, they're unbeaten. They didn't concede, did they, against England in the 2 Nations League games? 0-0 in Copenhagen, 1-1-0 at Wembley, although it was a dubious pen. So effectively, there were 2 goalless draws there. So going low is definitely of interest here. But so I think it has to be Denmark on the handicap because they are riding the crest of a wave, and they're very well organised. They're getting more and more cohesive. I think they handled the Czech physical threat even though they had to regroup in that quarter final. So there's a lot of positives for Denmark, who aren't as good as England, don't have as many stars as England, but I think they can give them a game. And I don't think there's going to be much in this. I really don't. One goal at the most, either way, is how I see this particular game going. And I don't think the Danish threat going forward should be ignored, because I think I flagged up in the last game they'd had 18 shots on target in 2 knockout ties. That's now 25 shots on target in 3 knockout ties. That's impressive. And if that run continues, Jordan Pickford will need to have a good game. So yeah, for me, Denmark can make this very, very competitive. And even though I want England to win, desperate for England to win, I quite like Denmark plus 3/4 of a goal, 1.925, and I quite like the draw as well at 3.75. I know a lot of people don't like backing the draw, but I can see this one potentially going into extra time and maybe even the dreaded penalties. 3.75 on the draw is one that appeals, I think.
Yeah, a bit of a drift on that actually in the last couple minutes. 3.8. Never let it be said that you jump on a bandwagon, Adrian Clarke. I tell you this much, man. You don't get carried away by the hype. Pragmatic as always. Mark O'Hare, you're in a weird spot here too, Mark. I mean, you've obviously got your Denmark outright position, so I mean, you don't. I presume you don't want to get too enamored, even if you have a feeling that Denmark will make this close. But what way are you feeling this one play out Wednesday night?
Very similar to what Adrian's talked about, in fairness. I've got a few different stats, a few different ideas, but very much on the same line. I thought England were, it's hard to say you weren't impressed by England against Ukraine, but there are a few caveats. Yeah. The first of which being Ukraine, who just looked exhausted after going 120 minutes against Sweden. They just sort of seemed to declare for a defeat after the opening goal, really, which was quite disappointing, really. But England can only beat what's in front of them. And I guess the only concerns really came from England's own complacency or errors at particular moments, but they recovered from them well enough. But yeah, I was going to talk about how clinical England were, particularly in that game, actually. 4 goals from 1.3 XG, including 2 set-piece goals, which were defended absolutely abysmally by, if your under 9s did that, you'd be raging at them. So for that to happen in a major tournament quarter-final, not good enough. But yeah, they only had 6 shots on target, scored from 4 of them, and a shot output of just 10. Again, we talked about their shot tallies in the last podcast. So but yeah, I guess they didn't need to press the foot down after being sort of 2-0 up, and they scored at the best moments possible early in both halves, just killed all fight, all hope really in the Ukraine team. But I guess the positive is just the one big chance conceded across the whole competition so far. 7 clean sheets for the first time in England's history. So, the word gets overused a lot, but England do have momentum. They have had a kind schedule, but they've got a wonderfully talented squad. You look at the players who didn't get on the pitch against Ukraine, quite scary, really, the talent that they have available to them. So, and I think, crucially, this bunch of players are humble and realistic enough to sort of use the expectation levels to their advantage, whereas I think yesteryear teams probably did crumble under the expectation. I think this England team, a lot of them have had plenty of success as the youth team players with England, so they're probably not as phased to come into these major tournaments. So there's a few advantages there, but yeah, this is going to be very difficult because Denmark have been on their own journey now, not just in this competition with the emotional energy from Christian Eriksen, but it's been building for a while now. This Danish team's been knocking at the door as being a decent side for 3-4 years, but Kasper Hjulmand, the head coach, has taken them to the next level. There's always been a bond between players and fans and coach, but what I've been so impressed by them is their tactical adaptability in this competition, which they've shown under Hjulmand now for nearly 2 years. The versatility to move between a 3 and 4 man defence, the manoeuvres mid-match to change systems to what they've been sort of faced with. And Eriksen was always the X factor, but you look at the players who've come in and stepped up. Damsgaard, who's had a middling season in Serie A, has been fantastic. Dolberg, who had a dreadful year for injury, illness, and other stuff off the field in Ligue 1, has been fantastic. Delaney and Højbjerg have been fantastic as well. The spine of the side is strong. Joachim Mæhle, who's been fantastic, has a really great season with Atalanta and carried that on now at international level. And you look at their games, they should have beaten Finland. They dominated Belgium before De Bruyne came on. Bar a 15-minute wobble against the Czechs, largely kept them at bay. The big issue for Denmark really is having to play in Baku and then come to Wembley. It's Saturday to Wednesday, very, very hot in Baku. Can they recover in time? You'd hope so, and I think they will take a more withdrawn role here. Maybe focus a bit more on containment and counter-attacking, utilising those set pieces, because I think they do have an edge at dead ball situations. They are a bigger team than England, even if England do have threats from centre half there. So I think it's their ability to stay in games as well, which is really quite encouraging if you want to be with Denmark. They're just an awkward team. I don't expect them to give England an easy ride whatsoever. So if England are going to win this game, I can see it being by a 1-goal margin at best. And that's why I also like Denmark plus 3/4 of a goal on the Asian handicap. I also like under 2.25 goals on the goal line, because I do think it's going to be quite tight. I do think it might play out very similarly to what we saw with England and Germany, actually. So I thought, Denmark plus 3/4 of the goal. We're only losing half our stake if England win by exactly 1 goal. And under 2.25 goals, we're making money if there's fewer than 3 goals. So basically, you're saying, unless England win this game by 3 goals or more, we're going to even ourselves out if we back both bets, really. We could easily see both bets land some profit as well. Kind of covering myself a little bit. But just interestingly, Adrian touched on it. The two teams played each other less than a year ago at Wembley. There are a few caveats to this, but England went off at 1.83. It was behind closed doors. Denmark had Eriksen, who scored the penalty. Maguire was sent off as well. England's team wasn't as strong as it will be for this match. But interestingly, the opening quotes for this match were England at 1.66, which did feel too short. I think the market's corrected itself. It's very hard to look at those prices and disagree with them. But I do think it's going to be tight, and therefore I want to be with Denmark with the plus.
Yeah, and Adrian, you're happy enough with that under as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. Yeah, I too was anticipating a relatively low-scoring game. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. I still think England are the more likely to progress, but it might be an extra time or penalties win. Like I say, 1-0 is possibly the most likely victory if it's England in normal time. But yeah, there are loads of pluses, and the players are fresh. I think England's bench is so much more talented, and I feel that the starting 11 is a bit fresher as well, because England haven't had to do the amount of travelling that Denmark have, and they've also mixed and matched at times, haven't they, in terms of the personnel. So I think if it goes to extra time, I would certainly fancy England to come on strong and get the job done and get themselves to that final, which would be absolutely brilliant. But in terms of having a bet on the game, I do like Denmark with a handicap, I have to say.
Yeah, and that'll appear on the site of Matchbook.com. That's saying 3/4 a goal. It's 0.5/1.0 is what you'll see on site. Good few comments in about this game. Not that surprising, of course, from John Aver. England 10-1 for next year's World Cup. It's coming home twice. I don't know. I think the juice has gone out of that price.
Just on that, little look earlier in the week. Obviously working well ahead, but we got Denmark at 80 for the Euros. Yeah. Denmark were trading at 100-1 for the World Cup. Whether that price is still around, but
it's well gone. I saw a tweet went out about it last night as well. I think they're banging through about 30s now, Mark. So there you go. Yeah, no, honestly, yeah. But look, those books, they're so far away. There's a lot of margin within those,
Yeah.
But Mark, they're not going to be too much bigger than that, surely. 30, 40s. 30 or 40s after this competition.
I thought 80s would still be around. Yeah, it's the wrong price for sure, but I thought if you wriggled around the market.
Have a look around, folks. Yeah, have a look around. See if you can find those 80s. One in from Bogdan as well. Surprise exit for England wouldn't be out of line. Let's not forget the Ukraine had some chances in the first. Germany had 2 huge chances. So at some point, these chances will get in. The law of averages, variables, but I mean, are they going to keep a clean sheet? That's the thing,
The law of averages says that sooner or later England will concede. And I still don't think this is a perfect rearguard, but they've just been so controlled, haven't they? And Pickford, when he has been called upon, has delivered. You've got to say, but this might be the day where they are breached, and it'll be fascinating to see, especially if Denmark score the first goal, what Gareth Southgate does, and perhaps more tellingly, how long he waits before making a change, because that is where my criticism of him lies. In the prep, he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, well, I think you made a great point as well, Adrian. But individually, there's no match between the two teams, but I think tactically Denmark have an ace there in the dugout in terms of changing things. I'm not sure we've seen enough from Southgate, not just in this competition, but in previous tournaments. And that'll be interesting.
I also think it's going to be interesting tactically. If they stick with a 3-4-2-1, I think I can see the two of Damsgaard and Brathwaite pushing back up our two of Phillips and Rice, which then effectively might leave them outnumbering a Mason Mount if he continues in that position with Højbjerg and Delaney in there. And that might be their way out to play through, because we will press. And I think that our wide guys are really good. Whoever starts, Sterling will start, whether it's Saka, whether it's Sancho. They can pinch the ball there, but I think through the middle of the pitch, they might be able to come through. And I tell you what, Denmark, although they are good at the traditional aspects, they're hardworking, they're organised, they're good at set pieces. Tell you what, when they knock the ball around, they're pretty sharp. Sharper, I think, than any of the teams England have come up against so far. Certainly as sharp as a Germany. So yeah, I don't think we're going to have it all our own way. That's how I see it. I think this could be a real test for us out of possession.
Just one last one on that, Adrian. Reading fan man has a question here. With England conversion so high currently, do we think England are happy to sit on 1-goal leads? And we've seen it throughout early in the competition. When they do get ahead, they're quite happy to kind of just keep it that way.
Well, of course, Southgate is cautious, isn't he?
He's not going to push on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't think he'll push on, but I don't necessarily say sitting on leads. I just think we're just naturally cautious, and Gareth Southgate is never. He's not going to abandon what's got England to this point. No chance. So yeah. It's going to be fascinating. I think that Denmark have got players who can finish against England if we give them a chance. But England may not give them too many opportunities. They have been incredibly solid and professional in the work that they've done. It has been impressive, no denying that.
Absolutely. Before I get to bet recap and best bets, guys, just wanted, if you're watching this now live or watching it back, you can get 0% commission on all sports for the first 30 days of your account by using the bonus code INSIGHTS on signing up. So generally speaking, with the exchange, you're more or less getting the best price more often than not, but now you're even more guaranteed to get the best price. So use the bonus INSIGHTS when signing up. Quick recap of what we have. So we've only got 2 games, but 2 bets within each. Italy minus 0.0, which is draw no bet at 1.8. Over 2 goals at 1.74 in the same game. Denmark plus 3/4 of goal. Like I said, it'll appear on site at plus 0.5/1.0, 1.93, like that one. England, Denmark under 2.25. Again, that will appear on site under 2.0/2.5 at 1.82. Kind of cover your bets. There's only 2 games here, guys. Best bets on each of them. Mark O'Hare kicks off. What's the best bet of those 4 selections?
I'll let Adrian go first.
All right, Adrian, you go first.
He's elected not to serve. He's given me
exactly.
Here we go. All right. It's not easy. I personally like, after the discussion we've had, I like Italy versus Spain over 2 goals. That would be my pick of the 4. Yeah.
Mark O'Hare.
I'll take under 2.25 goals in England, Denmark then.
All right. 2 goals bets there. All right, guys, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting couple of nights. I can feel it, that the potential for plenty of drama in these games. My thanks to Adrian. My thanks to Mark. Thank you for watching today. Thank you for listening. We'll be back Thursday afternoon for the final. Will England be there? And I suggest if they are, it'll be Sir Gareth Southgate by the time we get back for our Premier League broadcasts in August. Until Thursday afternoon, best of luck with your bets, and bye for now.